So looking at the satisfaction, we have testing library and Jest at the top, and those are the two we're going to talk about. So, Jest, this is a testing framework with the focus on simplicity. This is built and maintained by Facebook. So this is going to be your test runner where you're able to see all of the unit tests that you've written, and you're able to see if they're passing, if they're failing, why they're not passing or failing. And I'm going to very quickly just do a basic example of what this will look like in case you haven't used this yet. Just kind of want to show how you set this up. So where's my local host? Oops, am I on 3000? I think I'm on 3000. Yeah, okay. So this is a calculator I started working on. And right now what we can do is add numbers. So there's going to be a lot of logic in here. So before I even get to all of that, I just want to make sure my test is in place for adding two numbers together. And this is in the Jest documentation. So let's go ahead and write what this would look like. Get this out the way. So I have this calculate. I know that I want to do some calculations. And let me go ahead and comment this out. But when you write in tests, the format is going to be, you use the term describe to talk about, you want to put the name of what you're actually going to be testing. So these are calculations. You're going to have this arrow function. And then in this block, you could write all of your different test cases. So it's going to start with it. And then we could say something like adds two numbers. And we're going to do another arrow function. And then the terminology is expect. And we could just say, for the sake of this example, 2 plus 2 to be 4. So this test should pass because 2 plus 2 is always going to be 4 as far as I know. So then in here, okay, let me show how I open this. So in your terminal, I'm using Create React App. So if your project is in Create React App, Prettier, Lint, Jest is all built in. I think React Testing Library is built in as well. But I'm going to do yarn test to run my test suite. Here's my calculation test, and it passes. Did I already? Okay. So now the more practical use cases, I want to create a function that's going to do this. So I'm going to have this getSum function. And let me just comment this out. So I'm going to build a function called getSum. So if I put this in here, getSum, and it's going to take in two numbers, two parameters. So I'm going to expect getSum with 2 plus 2 to be 4. And it's failing because this is not a function. So now I need to go ahead and write the function. So in here, let's export const getSum. It's going to take in 2 arguments. And we're going to return A plus B. And then that should work. That passed. So that's pretty much what the process looks like. In your test, write your logic of what you expect to happen. And then you can go into it confidently once you write the actual function. And there are all kinds of other matchers that you can put in here. Like you can expect something not to equal something. You can expect something to be truthy or falsy. And let's see, I have a list that you can see. So let's keep it moving. So these are just the example I just went through. So if you go to the Jest documentation, they have so many helpful matchers, and you can just think of all kinds of different scenarios for your functions. If you expect something to be greater than something else, something to throw an error, all of that. And then another cool thing, if you haven't used this before, if you've been testing the Jest, is something called Jest Runner. So let me open that. It opened on, this opened on the wrong screen. Oops. Let me copy this over. Okay. So basically just running, this is a VS Code extension if you're using it. This allows you to, with the click of a button, isolate one test. You could run one test and debug one test. So that just saves time. So you can see it right here. If I click run, instead of going through all of these different tests, it's only going to run this one test. Really helpful if you have a lot in there. So you can do this without having this installed. So if you're in your terminal, if you click W, it's going to show you some different things you can do. Like you can show only your failed test. You can filter by the file name. So that's something that I would do. Click P to filter. And then calculations, yeah, it'll run by itself. But just running just makes that process easier to run one test. Let me get back. Sorry for all the flipping between screens. All right, so React testing library. Once we're beyond these functions and we want to test the actual components, this is where we're going to go. And as we were talking earlier, the guiding principle is functionality over implementation details. So I really like the testing library docs. They give you plenty of reasons of why we're taking this approach. So if you go to the intro, you can learn about it. Guiding principles gives you more information about how you should approach this. And then let's see, there's also a good link in the docs that's going to explain, as we get into how we're going to query our DOM to grab, what element we're looking for. This gives you a priority. So this focuses on interacting with your code visually as well as from an accessible standpoint. So get by role, you'll see we'll be using. So let's keep going. So this is the calculator I was talking about. And one of the things that I want to point out is, if you haven't seen this, this is super helpful, but there is an extension called Testing Playground. So if you're trying to figure out how to basically locate an element, you can use Testing Playground, which let's show you the website. This is the web version. They give you examples and you can just paste your code right into here and it's going to give you the query like screen.get.role button. And this will make more sense. So let's try it on here. Oops. So if we go over to Testing Playground, what you can do is click this icon and then select something on the page. And it's going to show you, okay, screen.get.role. This is an H1, so it's going to be a heading, and the name is React Calculator. So you could do this for everything. And I think a better example, something with more on a page, is let's look through the ReactJS Dallas website, which, Mike, is this open source, by the way?
It is, and it's woefully out of date.
Yeah,
we don't even like it even says 2019 in the footer. Like we don't even have date.now down there,
So we could drop that link and come together to make this current. But anyway, if you're trying to grab some elements, again, you can open up Testing Playground and it's just going to give you every query that you need. So you don't have to spend time trying to figure out yourself. And let's see. I'll show you an example in the code of what it looks like. So this is the calculator app. You're going to bring in your app, you're going to render your app, and then you're going to expect the query that you get from Testing Playground. And you can say to be in the document if it's just text you're looking for. And this is a simple implementation of React Testing Library, just looking for and validating links and buttons and text. So then there's so much more to it because you also have access to a library called user event. And again, I'm going to post this in the Slack channel so you can look at all of this. So this user event library, now this takes it to the next level. I'm testing when I click on something, user event clicks on, if they click on the checkbox from right here, we expect the checkbox to be checked. You have double click. You have if the user type. So again, testing everything that your user can do. Clear, select options. This is for a drop down. What else? Hovering. It goes very deep. And this is only scratching the surface, because you can also test, API calls, you could do mocking. And this is an example, a full example from the documentation. So you can see if you're doing like GET requests and you're waiting for information to come back, this is a good place to look. As you can see, async, and you're waiting for something to come back. You're clicking on load greeting. So yeah, going through the whole deal with React Testing Library. So I'll share that link as well. So yes, this will be in my post as well, resources for learning. So this is some stuff that I really leaned on when I was working on that project. I was up to 4 in the morning doing. So the Testing Library Discord has a lot of really helpful channels, and every time I post it in there, they get back like immediately. Also, the React Podcast Discord, we have a testing channel in there, and I've posted in there multiple times and have gotten help. And then the Reactive Flux Discord, they also have a testing channel. And then these recommended links, the React docs, the Create React App docs, which are really good because they walk through everything I've talked about and so much more. And then from Kent C. Dodd's Common Mistakes with React Testing Library, and then How to Know What to Test. Those are two really good articles I would recommend checking out. And then if you're beyond unit testing and you're looking for, an end-to-end testing, or if you've heard of Storybook, Storybook is really cool because it lets you develop UI components in isolation. An example that I like to use is that we had a 5-page form at one point, and this is a really detailed form. So we would have to put in all of this data to get to that 5th page. So it would take forever doing that over and over and over. So with Storybook, we can just set that state and see that component by itself without having to manually go through all 4 of those pages to get to the 5th page. So Storybook is super helpful. And then Cypress is fully automated end-to-end testing. So you can write out the code that you want to basically emulate a member going through your whole site, and you can sit and watch it happen. So that's really cool too. And there are other options, but Cypress is one of the ones that I've used and really enjoyed. All right. So that's all I wanted to cover. No questions. I'm out. I'm just kidding. If you have questions, let's go through it.
Yeah, not getting out that easy.